Every story leaves a mark. Some are carried in memory, others are written into the shape of the world itself, waiting to be understood in silence. This is Simple Tales. In the traditions of the Khoikhoi people of southern Africa, there is a story about how death came into the world, not as punishment, not as war, but as a mistake, carried by a messenger who did not fully understand what he had been given. It begins with the moon. The moon, in these old stories, was not only a light in the sky, but a living being, a presence tied to renewal. Because unlike all other things, the moon appeared to die and return again, fading into darkness only to rise once more in a new form. Seeing this, the moon grew concerned for humanity. It is said that the moon wished to share this cycle with human beings, so that they too would not be bound to a single ending, but would return as the moon returned, again and again in endless renewal. To carry this message, the moon chose the hare. The hare was swift, known for moving quickly across the land, but also known in many stories for being easily distracted, for pausing too long in fields, for forgetting urgency in the presence of food and open grass. Still, the moon entrusted him with a message, clear and simple. "Go to the people," said the moon, "and tell them this. As I die and rise again, so shall you die and rise again." The hare set off. At first he ran with purpose, moving across the land with the speed for which he was known, carrying the moon's words carefully in his mind. But as he traveled, the world around him began to press upon his attention. The scent of grass, the softness of the earth, the ease of the path, all these small things began to slow his thoughts. And as time passed, the message he carried began to lose its shape. By the time he reached the people, the words were no longer perfectly held in his memory. He stood before them and spoke. But what came out was no longer the promise of renewal. Instead, he declared, "As I die and perish, so shall you also die and come to an end." For a moment there was silence. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of something irreversible settling into place. The message had been spoken, and once spoken, it could not be undone. Far away, the moon heard what had been said. And in that moment, it is said that the moon understood what had been lost. The gift of return had been replaced by finality. The cycle had been broken not by force, but by misunderstanding. The moon descended in anger toward the world, seeking the hare. When it found him, it struck him with a burning fragment of light, and the blow split his upper lip, marking him forever. This is why, in the old telling, the hare bears a cleft lip even now. But the story does not end with punishment alone. The hare, wounded and afraid, turned back toward the moon in anger, and with his claws he struck upward, scratching across its face. And so, in return, the moon was marked as well. The dark shapes seen upon its surface are remembered as the scars of that moment when messenger and meaning collided too late to be separated again. From that point forward, nothing could be undone. Not the words spoken by the hare, not the message the moon had intended. Because what had changed was not only speech, but reality itself. And so death remained in the world, not as a planned decree, but as the result of a message that arrived altered, incomplete, and final. In this telling, death is not explained as a punishment, nor as a cosmic design, but as something quieter and more tragic, the consequence of words that failed to survive their journey from one being to another. The moon still rises and still fades and still returns, but humanity does not follow it in the same way. Only the marks remain. On the hare, the split lip. On the moon, the darkened face. And in the world itself, the knowledge that some things cannot be corrected once they have been spoken. Some messages are too important to fail, and some, once changed, become the foundation of everything that follows. Thank you for listening to The Origin of Death. If you enjoyed this tale from Khoikhoi tradition, please like the video, subscribe to Simple Tales, and share it with others who love myths, folklore, and timeless stories from around the world. Until our next journey into the world's timeless tales. Thank you for listening.